gorgeous. Okay, so this is like an unofficial video, so I don't have my microphone or anything. I was putting out some videos about Daphne Joy and the way that she harnesses, is that a word? The way that she taps into her femininity and really harnesses her feminine essence as a woman. I found it really just inspiring as someone who studies feminine energy and is really big into like feminine masculine energy and like the polarities between them, and how they work. Um, However, I have been hesitant because I wrote a blog post, about it, and I was gonna make like this ultimate masterclass, like Daphne Joy Feminine Energy YouTube video, and I stopped doing it because, and I think I will put something out, maybe just something smaller. I stopped it because I'm not on social media, which might sound really funny to hear from me since I'm here like posting on YouTube, which is an evergreen content. But yeah, and once I master AI, I really won't be social media at all. So, yeah, I didn't realize until I was going over the comments in some of the interview videos, how many women who are Black saw the interviews and felt bad about themselves. And so I don't want to create a video. I want to touch on it actually. I want to touch on it because people are talking about this whole thing about, well, what about Meg the Stallion and Daphne Joy, and why are we not enough as Black women, which I'm starting to hate putting in a precursor before this because I am a woman. You are a woman. She's a woman, unless you're not. Like, we are women, right? They might be women who are tall, women who are short, women who are, I don't know, yellow, pink, or green. And yes, I will get to the skin color thing because it does impact things. So, as a soft Black woman, the world will be harder on you to take away your softness. And I'm so sorry to say that. You will be picked apart by both your own community that will think, oh, who does she think she is? She's putting on airs. You will also be picked apart. You will also face more racial disrespect. And I have another video coming up of ways to return to your softness. And you'll be seeing, oh, well, not only is that a Black person, but that's a Black person putting on airs. So let's go ahead and humble her. Let's go ahead and humiliate her a little bit. And even though that's the case, I still advocate for our softness. And when we're in our softness, it's a lot. This is not gonna be the right verbiage for this, but it's a lot more gentler on our nervous system. It's a lot more healing to our bodies. And so it's really a way of deep self-care and self-love on putting us first. And you may not get the same compassion. So that's why it's just really, really important to be extra soft and extra gentle with yourself. And it kind of made me also think about Lori Harvey, because I think Lori Harvey, she presents in a very feminine way. Maybe not some of the feminine traits, because the feminine traits that Daphne Joy exhibits, it's and she does it completely unawares. It's all about Oh, okay. So before I get to her, so when Lori Harvey was dating Michael B. Jordan, she was completely ripped apart, especially by the Black community. And um, really, in both cases, with Lori Harvey and with Daphne Joy, there's this whole thing with like, oh, well, this woman has been with this many men. But like, how many women was Hugh Hefner with? And we like all were like, oh my gosh, that's Hugh Hefner. You know what I mean? So literally, it's such a double standard because if it was a guy, no one would have batted an eye. But if it's a woman who's really feminine, like the more, I hate to use verbiage, but the more feminine you are, the higher price you are. This is why so many different men sought after Lori Harvey. This is why so many different men sought after Daphne Joy, because the more feminine you are, the higher price you are. And femininity itself, no one who's feminine with her body, is a very rare fragrance. It's a very rare essence. It's much more rare than Chanel number 5. Um, so I just kind of want to put that out there. And then about and I personally learned about feminine energy and the beauty of it in a really, really painful place. Um, there was a night where I have already, this really hurts to share. My little brother, my youngest brother, is absolutely special in every single way. And right before he passed, I was in those months leading up to it because he was really ill because of his diagnosis. And so in those months leading up to it, I learned the hard way that that hardcore persona that I had um, as this extra masculine, strong Black woman, it wasn't what he needed. It wasn't the right reps. It didn't allow. So I learned to tap into my softness, my feminine energy. If you study the goddesses Oshun, talk about Oshun and Oshun's honey. Like, I learned more how to use honey for the pain in the best way to kind of say it. Um, and, sometimes the honey just brings more pain, but I keep on trying. And then after he transitioned, I tried to put on this shell of being this hard Black woman, and this shell broke. And then I realized that that was a shell that was given to me by society because society benefited me from being in that shell. And so when we talk about Meg the Stallion, um, I have a kind of a story that might be a little bit hard to share with you. So I grew up in a really religious community, and I remember, and I've moved a lot, but the one particular town that I lived in at one point was known for having like the largest, I think like the largest, it was the largest, I don't know how to say this the right way, so the most political correct way, but it was said to be the whitest town in America. I don't know whether or not that was true. And I don't think it's ranked like that anymore. And one time, someone from Australia was visiting the area, and even though Australia has Aborigines, they went through a ton of persecution there. And they actually had until Dr. Ben Carson talks about it in his book, Medical Doctor, Dr. Ben Carson. They actually had like a um, anti-African, not African American, but like an like something African blood law until like 1974 or something. Um, and so if you're black, you actually can go there. Um, I could be wrong on the date, but I think it was into the 1970s some point. And so anyway, so the these people from the religious group in my community, which is a very beautiful and loving community, it really, really is. They had never seen a black person, so when they got to America, their only reference of black women was the twerking that they saw in the music videos. And so they were driving around this town, which was known for, being a very Caucasian town, and they were like, well, where's all the black people like shaking their asses? Where's all the black women shaking their asses? And so I completely get that it's Meg the Stallion's job is to, you know, as a rapper, to be a certain, type of way. Um, However, that's why people don't necessarily see her as the soft, feminine woman. So it's not saying that she's not worthy, because we are worthy, and I get it. I know that we're tired. I know that we're exhausted. I know that we went through, Nicki Minaj's comment, like when no one, I'm not going to even touch on that. I know we went through what's going on with the federal and the number of black women who are laid off, and I know that as a group we are dehumanized, probably more than any other group. But I'm, that's, I'm not gonna. So even, I don't want to say, even though we are victims, I'm not gonna step into victimhood, right? Like the pomegranate, and I said this in the video before when I was talking about Daphne Joy, the pomegranate were said to be essentially represent women who were originally in the gutter, and then they went to the royal palace, and they themselves like ended up owning their own palace and stuff, and they used the energy called Shekinah. They used their beautiful feminine energy in order to do that. And men would be so enraptured and entranced by their beauty that literally there would be 7 kings that would know about this one woman and not even care. Like they would all be gathered around her. And so yeah, so that's, and I thought Daphne Joy is a really cool case example, and it's not to kind of like justify it or anything, because I'm like, often we hear about the dark feminine, but we don't hear about the lightness, the softness, and beauty. And so when I saw her, I literally thought, for all races, all cultures, like not just one group, but for all of us, I was like, wow. I was like, if instead of like hating on her, we all took tips on what's working, and I don't think she's intentionally doing any of this. I'm sure these are life skills that she's developed from being essentially a kept woman with all these like really high powered women. Really high powered men. But if we could like just take notes of pieces of like, oh my goodness, these are jewels, because as you can see from our interviews, these men have no defense. They have no defense. So maybe there's a way that we can use this in our own interpersonal communication that would make life easier on ourselves. We've tried living life to masculine tools. I know that I've tried it to the fullest extent, and yeah, living with chronic illness has really taught me like it's not about berating or beating my energy, but really allow my energy to be as soft as it can. So, love you.